Florida.
The gentlelady from Florida is recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my good friend for yielding. As the House author of the legislation awarding the Congressional Gold Medal to the Women's Air Force Service Pilots, WASP, I rise in strong support of today's resolution. I'd like to thank my wonderful friend from California, my colleague, my collaborator, Congresswoman Susan Davis of California, for her dedicated work in support of the WASP. And today's bill authorizes the use of Emancipation Hall, a historic place, for a historic group of ladies, for an event that will honor a most unique sisterhood of women pioneers. Next Wednesday, March 10th, Mr. Speaker, the United States Congress will present the Congressional Gold Medal to the surviving members of the Women Air Force Service Pilots, WASP. This award serves as a small token of our tremendous appreciation of the remarkable courage and sacrifice made by these women during the perilous times of World War II. The WASP were the first women in history to fly America's military aircraft. Between the years of 1942 to 1944, these courageous women volunteered to fly non-combat missions so that every available male pilot could be deployed in combat. More than 25,000 women applied for the program, but only 1,830 qualified women pilots were accepted. Unlike their male counterparts, women applicants were required to be qualified pilots before they could apply for the Army Air Force's military flight training program, and that's the way that it was called. It sounds odd to say. But although 1,102 women earned their wings and went on to fly over 60 million miles for the Army Air Forces, equal to some 2,500 times around the globe, and they never got the recognition that they deserved. Their performance was equal in every way to that of male pilots. With the exception of direct combat missions, the WASP flew the same aircraft with the same mission as male pilots. Women pilots were used to tow targets for male pilots who were using live ammunition, for searchlight missions, for chemical missions, engineering test flying, and countless other exercises. In 1944, the WASP were disbanded, their service records sealed and classified. By the time the war ended, 38 women pilots had lost their lives while flying for our country. And although they took the military oath and were promised military status, the WASP were never recognized as true military personnel. These 38 women who died in the service of our country during World War II were denied death benefits, including a proper military funeral. Not even an American flag covered their coffin. And their survivors, they never received a single dime. As a former WASP, Mary Alice Putnam Bandaventer noted in a recent letter, fellow WASP would circulate a collection hat to make sure that a fallen sister pilot received a proper burial. It was not until 1977, more than 30 years after the WASP had served, when another woman pioneer, Congresswoman Lindy Boggs, introduced legislation to grant the WASP veterans status. And now, more than 30 years from that important occasion, the United States Congress, on behalf of the American people, will present the WASP with the recognition they deserve, indeed they have earned. The WASP are true pioneers whose examples paved the way for the armed forces to finally lift the ban on women attending military flight training in the 1970s. Today, women in the military fly every type of aircraft, from F-15s to the space shuttle. My daughter-in-law, Lindsay Nelson, a Marine Corps pilot, is part of this legacy of the WASP. Lindsay is a graduate of the United States Naval Academy. She served combat tours in Iraq and in Afghanistan, where she flew the F-18 fighter jet. I'm so proud of Lindsay and of all of our service women, past and present, who continue to inspire young women to achieve what was heretofore unimaginable. Of the 1,102 WASP, less than 300 are still alive today, and they are residing in almost every state of our beautiful union. I have had the honor and the privilege of meeting WASP from my congressional area of South Florida. Last August, Mr. Speaker, I presented Frances Rohr Sargent, Ruth Schaefer Fleischer, and Helen Wyatt Snap with framed, signed copies of the WASP Congressional Gold Medal legislation. I cannot tell you how delighted I am that Frances, Ruth, and Helen will be traveling to Washington next week along with more than 170 of their fellow WASP. Joining me in paying homage to these trailblazers and true patriots who served our country without question and with no expectation of recognition or praise, I hope that all of our colleagues will join us next week. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues in joining me and my good friend from California, Ms. Davis, in voting yes on this important recognition. We've taken a long time to recognize these brave pioneers, but that date has finally come, thanks to all of our members. And I thank my good friend for the time. I yield back.
The gentlelady